Welcome, traveler, to Snarg's House of Sin.
Can feel the spark, coruscating power in the dead of night. Welcome back, everybody, to Snarg's House of Sin podcast featuring Izzetrix and Dogodude. We got a little treat for you today. This is an emergency 1.5 in between episode, whatever the hell you want to call it. Because there's a lot going on in the world of magic that we would like to talk about before it becomes irrelevant. Although, knowing WotC, it'll be relevant again in 2 weeks to a month.
Just a little bit of time. Give him some time.
Yeah. But we are, of course, if you did not read the title of this episode, which I'm sure will probably put it in the title, I'm assuming, we are talking about the AI snafu for the, was it Ravnica? I believe it was the Ravnica ad for the Shocklands.
Yeah, Ravnica remastered for the 3 Shocklands and apparently 2 Guildgates.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and do the summary since I think you have a lot more to say on this topic than I do. So I feel like this is my chance to talk and be heard. So super TLDR, if you're not following the current events, on Twitter, the Magic the Gathering official account put out an ad for some fancy lands for Ravnica Remastered, and it was AI generated, or at least AI manipulated in some way. It has AI in it. It is an AI ad. Yeah, so basically in their retraction, apology, whatever you want to call it, that they put out today, I would say it was a middle of the road apology. They got to the point. It's not the worst apology I've ever read. They definitely owned up to it a little bit. In my opinion, there was a little bit of deflection in there. So it was a 5-part tweet, and one of the tweets focuses on how it was a independent contractor that they hired, that this wasn't an internal mistake. A little bit of deflection, but they did also say, but it is on us for not catching it. And then there was a line in there that I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, bothered me a little bit, where they said, like, unfortunately, AI is creeping its way into industry standard tools like Photoshop and stuff. And it almost kind of felt like they were saying, like, it's not our fault, guys, it's the equipment, when it's like, I'm sorry, but maybe I'm getting a little off topic here, laying off 1,100 people might have led to this. Maybe.
Back to the layoffs.
It has been confirmed that several art directors, as well as many of the artists, were laid off as a result of those layoffs.
Where are you getting that? Because I wouldn't say friends, that's a little parasocial, but acquaintances with a number of WotC artists, and no art directors or artists that work at WotC have been laid off.
Okay, this could potentially be misinformation. But I believe there was somebody on Twitter who is claiming to be a former art director for WotC, and they are claiming that they and their coworker got laid off. Okay. Their coworker being another art director, but maybe this is misinformation.
It also could be like how former. When did they
That's
have
fair.
They not done a couple of stats like in a while?
That's fair.
But up in the air, allegedly.
Truth be told, we're getting a little off topic. The layoffs have nothing. Never mind. They have something.
So with the layoffs, going on with the layoffs, right?
Anyway.
I don't think that this would have to do with the layoffs, because I would hope that a multi-million-dollar company has their ads done more than a month ahead of time. Like, as an independent creator, I schedule at least a month ahead if I am doing it correctly. So I would hope that once the cards were made, their ads started to be made.
Unless, and this is pure speculation, unless that's the reason why the AI slipped through, is because this may have been a last-minute crunch thing. That, like,
sure.
they didn't have the ad ready. They don't have the people to work on it. More and more
Fiverr and was like, "Hey, here's some cards."
Essentially,
Twitter.
And like, my whole thing, before we get into the ethics of it all, my whole thing is that this is the 3rd time. I was thinking it was the 2nd time, but somebody on Twitter corrected me. This is the 3rd time in the last 6 months that Wizards of the Coast has gotten in trouble using AI. There was the situation back in August with the D&D book. There was the situation in November with the Tomb Raider ad,
Oh,
and
I
now,
completely missed Tomb Raider.
yeah, they for the
I saw your tweet about it, but yeah, I didn't know when Tomb Raider came out.
yeah, so they did when they did the ad for the Tomb Raider Secret Lair, there was a really cringy ad where it was like an old school retro like 80s living room, which by the way didn't even make sense at the time because Tomb Raider's a 90s game. But anyway, it's like an old school like 70s 80s living room, and like there's two posters like loosely taped on the wall that are the card arts, and then a like crappy looking TV that has another card art in the middle of it, and it was almost instantly flagged that it was AI.
Right.
And Watsy tried to like initially they were like, "Oh, we don't do that," and then they pulled the ad down. And it's just like, so this is strike 3. This is like fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, fool me 3 times. What the fuck are you doing? Stop fooling me. Like, this is stupid. You know? But anyway, so that's where we're at as far as Watsy sticking their foot up their ass for the third time in 6 months. But yeah, we want to get into the ethics and the conversation about AI. And for those that are just listening, I'm using air quotes, art, because a lot of people, myself included, do not feel like AI art is art. It is AI images. So
I agree.
but yeah, I guess I will shut the fuck up and let you say whatever's on your mind right now.
I agree. Thank you so much, Mr. Dogodude. Yeah, no, AI generated images are generated images by a computer. The more well known softwares, websites, I don't even know if they have I don't know, software, whatever, are what, Mid Journey and Stable Diffusion are the two big ones that people know of. And Stable Diffusion, if I am remembering correctly, is currently going through a lawsuit brought forth by the Washington Post, I believe, that has a entire list, whole documentation of artists and styles that they are pulling from to train their AIs, which they did not get permission to use.
Oh wow.
Especially to use Stable Diffusion, you have to have a subscription.
Mm.
You get only like, I think, haven't actually gone to the website because I'm not going to be using it at all, but I believe there's like a free use couple of tokens, and then I know that there's a subscription to be able to generate more and more images. So yeah, that court case that is coming up, and they are gathering evidence for, with the entire list of names, which has a lot of Magic the Gathering artists on there. That is going to be setting some precedents once that is done and over with about the whole AI generating thing, and especially like the theft of the artwork that was used to train the programs.
Cool. I do want to make one very quick side note. So anybody that heard the beginning of this podcast, I did very quickly do a little tweet searching. I was wrong. I misread or misunderstood the tweet. The person was not saying they are an art director. They are somebody who was laid off from Watsy, and they think art directors getting laid off probably led to this. But you're saying that you don't believe any have been laid off. So I do want to correct that bit of misinformation that I said.
Yeah, none that I know of. Now, they might not. Somebody might not have come forward,
That's
which
true.
is completely valid. Like that's on them, and that's absolutely fine. But none that I know of.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that does kind of take a little bit of the conspiracy theory out of it, I guess, but
Sorry,
it's still not a good look. But
it's not. It's real bad.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's just so much to say about this whole thing, and the ethics of it, and the conversation happening right now a lot on TikTok, is basically it's surprisingly seems to be split pretty down the middle of people saying who cares, and people saying this is really really bad, they should stop using AI art. And I think the people who say who cares just really don't understand the impact that AI is having and will have and has already had on the art community.
So, I don't. The people that I see who cares are not artists.
Absolutely.
The people who are like, oh, well, now I get to make cool pictures. Okay, neat. Like, I'm happy for you that you have found something that you think is fun. But I need you to realize that that fun thing is actively harming people who have jobs.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, well, I don't know how to draw and I want to get something that's in my brain onto a piece of paper. Then you can commission an artist or you can practice. No artist, I would put money on you are going to be very hard pressed to find an artist that does art for a living that is like, "Oh yeah, I'm just good at art." Because all of us have insane imposter syndrome. None of us think that we're good at it. I have worked on a project with Titus Luntner, who is a Magic the Gathering card artist, multiple cards, and Aaron Miller was on that project too. So two Magic artists were on a project with me, and like I said in our chat, I was like, I mean, thank you so much for like having me on this project. I really appreciate the opportunity, but like I really don't think that I belong here because like look at these guys and it's just me. And Titus actually reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, like I thought the same thing during like one of my early on Magic sets and Aaron was really nice and like they chose you for a reason and you're supposed to be here. But don't worry about it. Like the imposter syndrome doesn't go away." And I'm like, "That's thanks, I
Which,
guess."
by the way, for our listeners that may not be super versed on Izzetrix is past, I guess, bit of a small legend in the altering community. Just saying,
No.
toot your horn a little bit. I mean, you used to be very prevalent in the altering scene.
I did a little bit. Used to be
Yeah. So
known, Googleable.
yeah, so you're not just some dickhead doing art on the internet. Like you're somebody that was, actually making money
Making a
doing
living
this. Yes,
off of
making a
artwork. Yeah.
living. Yeah. So
Um,
for those listening, if you hear a little bit of passion from her during this mini episode, it's she's got like boots on the ground experience of and obviously the connections. You have way more art connections than I do. I know like a few people that feel equally as passionate, but I'm not as in the community as you are, so to speak.
yeah, no, it is rough because like my Twitter feed right now is AI, the Magic the Gathering AI scandal and the Wacom tablet
Oh my
scandal.
god, can we talk about that? What the
And
fuck?
then equal parts that and then like Palestine. And
Yeah.
that's my Twitter feed and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, both of these things, like one's a little bit worse, obviously a lot of bit worse than the other one, but like these are both really bad and I just want to like I just want to chill a little bit."
Yeah, I get it. Well,
It's rough. It's rough out there.
that's what's one of the main pillars of white privilege is we want to be comfortable.
Yep.
Yep.
But we're not.
No,
So that's
and we
fine.
shouldn't be. And we shouldn't be, but that's a
Mm-mm.
whole nother episode. But the Wacom thing or
So not only did
Wacom.
Magic have the AI thing, Wacom Tablet, which is literally selling to artists. So why are we using AI art? Apex Legends, I believe, and then another company.
Apex
All
Legends did not surprise me though.
no,
That's a video game company. It was a matter of time until video game companies started cutting corners.
no, not surprising.
Yeah.
But like all four of them in the same weekend
Yeah.
that are being called out for AI advertisements.
But the Wacom tablets, however the hell you pronounce that company, that one blew my mind the most, and I'm actually going to be working on a video about that because for those that aren't aware, they're not just drawing tablets. These are like industry like standard Animation companies use these, video game companies use these, digital artists use these. They are like the golden standard for animation, video game design, whatever you have it. And for them to be using AI generated ads when all they had to do, truthfully, all they had to do, offer someone like a 20% discount on one of these $1,000 tablets to make your banner for you, and you would have had an army of artists willing
So
to partner with you.
they've done commission the artwork on their boxes in the past,
Yeah.
right? Somebody tweeted, I don't remember who it was, I didn't bookmark it, I should have, but somebody tweeted, he's like, hey, you paid me $1,000 to make your cover for like the Cintiq 14 or something like that, and I bet you made more money off of that than what you're gonna lose by using AI generated art for your advertisement.
Yeah.
And like they didn't even I saw somebody else tweet, they took the dragon that was AI generated, took it as a base, and just touched it up a little bit in half an hour. And you could have used that.
You didn't even need to hire an artist to do something from scratch. You could have just asked somebody to fix the drawing. And
Like
the
maybe don't make his tail come out of like his belly or
right,
something.
that's the worst part is like, I'll be honest, because I'm not like, I dabble in digital art, but it's more of a hobby than anything. I'm trash. Most of my art is, I take like Pokemon cards, I create frameworks based on the pre-existing designs, and then I draw my stuff over that. Like, I'm still very much a like baby artist, right? So for me, like when I looked at the Wizards of the Coast ad, I played a little Where's Waldo game where I tried to find the AI mistakes, and I could only find 2 of them. But there's at least 5, right? When I looked at the Wacom tablet thing, instantly I was like, the fucking tail. Oh my god, the tail. It goes
Yeah.
from nowhere to his belly button, and I'm like, who looked at that? What person at the company looked at that and said, "You got it, champ. Put it in."
This is great.
And like, I'm assuming, like, truth be told, let's give the company a little bit of slack for no reason. It's probably the exact same scenario that Wizards fell under, that they hired a third-party contractor. Third-party contractor was a piece of shit dirtbag who decided to cut some corners and throw in an AI image to get a quick paycheck, and the people at Wacom didn't check their homework. And it's
Yeah.
just like, for companies like Wizards and Wacom, you're literally art-based companies. The thing that has put Magic, I mean, there's a lot of factors, obviously. This could be a whole debate. But one of the things that has made Magic stand out since its inception was its artwork. It's such a unique, cool-looking game. There is no card in the entire game's history that you couldn't cut the image out of the card and frame it and trick someone into thinking that that's just fine art. Even some
That's
of the
just pretty pictures.
yeah, even some of the uglier cards you could call abstract art, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's all art. And for a company that has built itself on art, and then Wacom, a company that literally sells to artists,
To
to-
make art.
yeah,
To make art.
to fuck up this bad, it's like, what the actual shit is going on?
No, it's crazy.
Like,
Um,
it's frustrating levels of incompetence is what it is.
And the thing is, right? So, even if this lawsuit goes through and Stable Diffusion gets their slap on the wrist, whatever, right? Moving forward, if they are getting ethically sourced artwork with permission and stuff, eventually that pool is going to be so muddied with already AI generated images. It's just going to be pooling from that slop, right? It's not going to be pooling from any of the new ideas because artists now are using things like what's it called? They're poisoning their images that they put online so that the training systems can't actually
Oh, that's interesting.
figure out what's going on. I will
That's
Google it
fascinating. Yeah.
with a happy face.
While you're doing that, I guess I'll go on a rant so that you can have a second to Google. So just getting on the ethics of this whole thing, there is one point that I have seen. I wouldn't say it's a common point, but I've seen it pop up twice, which is really not that much, but it has popped up, so I feel the need to
If
address
I
it.
had a nickel for every time that it's popped up, I'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't much, but it's weird that it's happened twice. So, an argument that I have seen is that people who are anti AI art are ableist because AI art allows the physically and mentally impaired individuals to do art that they wouldn't normally be able to do. And I personally like, and I don't want to speak on behalf of anyone's community, but I feel it's extremely ableist to say that, because that implies that if you are on the spectrum, if you have PTSD, if you have no arms, if you are paralyzed from the waist or from the neck down, that you're incapable of doing art. And that is just an extremely insulting assertion to make, especially when, to disprove that argument, I simply Googled art made by physically handicapped individuals. That is all I typed in. And I got thousands of images and articles about people who are paralyzed from the waist down, painting with their mouths, people with cerebral palsy that are painting really, awesome things.
And they do so good.
Yeah, there's one
They
where
do so good.
I took some screenshots. I want to shout out some names. Not like they'll ever hear this or anyone will know who they are, but there's a guy that is literally blind and he makes these stunning paintings. His name is John Bramblett, and it says he's functionally blind. He has like 2% here or
Yeah, he's
seeing in his
probably
eyes.
like super tunnel vision.
Yeah.
There's a guy on TikTok that does illustrative children's books who is legally blind and like all but like, I don't know, I think he's got down to like 10%. He's got super, super tight tunnel vision. Oh my god, that's
And look at
insane.
that. That was made by a blind man.
That's
Like
so good.
yeah. And then here's one. Doug Landis. He's paralyzed from the neck down. It was from a high school wrestling match when he was a kid. And so he draws it looks like it's like ash drawings and stuff with his teeth. And I mean, this is
That's a wolf.
this is
Oh
better
my
than
god.
this is better than anything I can do, and I've been drawing since middle school. And
That's so good.
and look, here's a picture. He does it with his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So like, I mean, I could go on for hours about all the different, like, very inspirational people that are able to make art regardless of whatever handicap that they may be facing. And
I
so
mean,
this
like,
is
those are physically handicapped people. I have a alphabet soup of mental disabilities right here.
yeah.
And I don't do half bad. My biggest struggle is the executive functioning to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Which is huge because that's a whole different conversation. But I am a disabled person who is able to do artwork because
Yeah.
it takes time and practice.
Yeah. And to be fair, the people that made the argument, I'm almost positive they meant physical, not
Yes.
mental.
100%.
But just to cover my P's and Q's, there's hundreds of people you can easily Google who are severely autistic, who are mentally, facing all kinds of things and still producing fantastic artwork. So
Amazing artwork. Yeah.
yeah, like saying that AI is good because it makes art more accessible. It's just, that sounds more ableist to me than the reverse.
So back in the early days of AI, right? Back in like 2020, it
The early days.
the early days, there was a program, website or whatever, that had different colors for different types of landscape. So you had dark blue for like deep ocean, light blue for like rivers and stuff like that, green, light green for plains, dark green for trees, and then like light brown for beach, and then dark brown for mountains or something like that. Rocks, I think it was. And if you drew a shitty little landscape painting in your square, it would then take that and generate it to look realistic.
Okay.
Now it wasn't anything close to what we have today. But what I liked about that, and I was super pro AI art at that time, because that's what I thought the direction of AI art was going to be going, was that I input my idea, my drawn idea, very simply, and then it outputs something else so that I can get my see the perspectives that I want to put down onto my paper, and then I can use that as my reference to then go back and draw my piece.
Use it as a tool, not as a replacement.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this is sick. Like this is AI art is gonna be so freaking cool. I can put down draw my idea down, and then it shows me what I'm thinking, and then I can take that and I can use it in my own artwork. And then they turned it into like, you're able to ask ChatGPT a question on how to make a prompt, and then copy paste that prompt into your AI art generator, and then you get your fucking image.
Yeah. Which I mean, let's go into the two most ethical problems with the way the AI generates the art these days. And first, being the very obvious thing, is that it's stealing other people's art to generate that art. So we've got art theft. And then the other thing is that because some computer bro is typing the prompt into a prompter, that is an artist who was not hired to do that work.
Correct.
And even if, because I see this argument so many times, even if you hire somebody to digitally touch up the art and therefore make it unique, I'm putting up air quotes for those just listening, that person is not making nearly the commission that somebody who was hired to do a piece of art. For example, back in the early days of the first 25 artists, to ever brace the Magic the Community, Douglas Schuller, the legend that gave us Joven, right? He was paid X amount of dollars to paint X amount of paintings, which would be submitted to the company, which would then be put onto cards in the set Homelands, right? If we fast forward to today, now granted, I have to preface my next statement. They're not using AI on card art yet. But if we reach a point where they start to do that, right? Even if they hire somebody to digitally touch up the art that AI is creating, that person is not going to make the kind of money Douglas Schuller made. That person is going to make 10% at most of what an artist is making. And they may get to a point where they're not even hiring people to do it. They may just start having the IT department do this shit, because you can. When it comes to AI, you don't need an artist. And clearly, based on the quality that they're putting on Twitter, you don't even need an artist to fucking look at it.
So this leads into a good talking point. I asked Jason Rainville. I reached out to Jason Rainville. Originally Doggo did, and he remembers who I am, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. But we reached out to Jason Rainville because he's been very vocal about it on Twitter, right? And I asked him what are one of his biggest concerns or apprehensions regarding AI-generated art in Magic the Gathering, right? So his answer was, the biggest concern overall is that people will lose work. Me, someone else, it doesn't really matter. But the devaluation of artistic labor, whether it's card art, advertising art chips, or advertising art, chips away at the idea that human artistic endeavors are worth it. Although, he would say of equal concern is something more than magic, which is the idea of losing the human touch in media in general. I know I like to watch, play, and enjoy art that's been created by people, knowing there's intent behind it, and it makes it interesting to him. Without that, it's just digital slop or content, he said in air quotes, which really, really means a lot coming from Jason. I don't know if you know this or not, but General what the hell's her name? Brass Beckett.
Yes.
The pirate.
Yep.
Old lady pirate card. I really should know the name of the card for him, because that is literally
Admiral Beckett Brass.
Admiral Beckett.
He also did one of my favorite cards of all time, Helena and Elena. It's kind of hard to see. It's a green-red card that is super instrumental in my Orfeo deck. But yeah, he's the artist for that card. So this person that we're quoting right now is not some random jackass. This is like a Magic artist legend.
He also did Seed Core, which did huge in the art scene for Magic this year. But
Admiral
his
Beckett Brass.
Admiral Beckett Brass is his mother.
Oh, I did not know that. That's awesome.
The model for the Admiral is his mother, who has now passed. And so that piece of artwork really, really means a lot to him when the original card came out. And he was fortunate enough to be able to do the new version of her as well. Same lady, still based off of his mom, but the second one that he did was after his mother had passed. So that is a huge thing of putting your emotions and feelings into the artwork, because it could be something as personal as like someone's literal mother, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you don't get anything remotely like that with AI. And just real quick, because I'm fascinated by this guy, I just want to plug two more things. He also did Chandra Heart of Fire and Chandra Pyrogenius, which are that's my favorite planeswalker. So, again, just trying to prove this guy's cred. He knows what he's someone we should be listening to.
And this guy, I love Jason. He's tweeted to Watsy underneath the AI stuff. He's like, I know that I'm not like at the top of the roster, and all I can think in my head is like, dude, you're fucking awesome. Like, your work's awesome, and you're not like, I don't want to say unknown artist in the Magic community, but you're definitely not an unknown artist in the Magic community.
He's no Douglas Schuller. He didn't make Joven, but
He's still a fan favorite.
No, he's great. Honestly, he's a fantastic artist. Yeah, and
but that goes back to the imposter syndrome that we all have.
Yeah, that's true. But like, and we'll get right back on topic with the ethics, but yeah, like, talking about the passion behind Admiral Beckett Brass and the story behind it, and I think that's a stunning looking card. I think it's a really cool, vibrant art. Like, she looks so powerful. And the thing that like a lot of people don't, I guess, even talk about when they talk about this whole AI thing is that AI art is just fucking ugly. It's just slop. And
it's
like
all the same.
It's the same bad. And like these legendary works of arts, like Helena, Admiral Beckett Brass, the Chandra cards, if you just look the guy up, he has a website and you can see the dozens and dozens and dozens of Magic arts that he has done. You're not going to get that shit. You're not going to get that quality of work if we start using dumbass computers. Like, I'm sorry, but that's a fact. Like, there is no any bit of AI art you show me, I will hold it up to a piece of actually human-made art, and it will not hold up. There is no piece of AI art that's better than human art.
It doesn't have the same emotions to it at all.
It doesn't.
In a little bit, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
However, as much as we are shitting on WotC and AI art, well, fuck AI art, and WotC, they did put out an apology.
They did. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but we can go deeper in depth about it if you want. We can.
A little bit.
Do we want to actually read the full apology?
I can read the apology, and
okay.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
Well, I had it right here.
While you're looking that up, I'll okay, never mind. I will touch on.
I would like to go over the apology.
Yeah, do that.
Last-ish. Okay. So like our wrap up thing is about apology.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll say one more thing. Cthulhu Cards on TikTok and Twitter. He is a card alterist. He makes 3D shadow boxes. He brought up a really good point when I was talking to him about this topic that the art community will never be okay with them being replaced by robots. But, and this is not just an art thing. I see this in the tech field. Truck drivers have talked about this. Really, the only way that I think these industries are going to fully accept AI automation of anything is there has to be some assurance that these people aren't just going to be thrown to the curb and, forced to fend for themselves. And the only effective way to do that is universal basic income, which our
Oh
country
man,
will
I was
never
just
do.
gonna say that. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
we're gonna do universal UBI.
UBI.
Hell yeah,
UBI.
let's fucking
If
go.
if nothing else, like if you what they need to do, if the government is not going to regulate the use of AI in industries, and I don't want this to be a huge political conversation. I'm sure somebody's going to call me a communist. I don't care. Das Vidanya, comrade. Um, if you're going to replace an entire industry with robots, you have to at least give them a year to get back on their feet. So,
A
like,
year's not even enough.
listen, I agree with you, but realistically, that's the most we'd ever. But fine, whatever. An agreed upon amount of time. There has to be some safety net where, if you can prove I was a professional artist who was making a living doing that, and the goddamn Terminator came in and took my job, the government needs to take care of you, right? And if the government's not going to take care of you, then we need to not let entire industries die. Because I think what people don't realize too is that if the entire art industry goes full AI and artists just don't make a living anymore, that's less money into the economy. Everything's going to get more expensive. And then it's the same with, you start automating tech jobs. Well, now IT people aren't finding work anymore. You start automating truck driving. Now truck drivers aren't finding work anymore. And how slippery does this slope get before half the country is unemployed just so a company can save a few bucks? A company that is making billions in profits.
So many bucks. They're making too many bucks.
Like, I understand that Hasbro had a bad year last year, but WotC did not. And like, yes, the overall company didn't have a great performance. WotC is still $1 billion segment of the company. They don't need to resort to AI art bullshit for their ads. They can hire an artist.
There is a slimmer of hope in the art thing, in the art community. While companies could replace us with AI, right? There is still going to be much less, but a few people who are like, no, I still want human art. So, like, that is nice, but that means that we now have to become good at social media and content creation and selling ourselves instead of just being able to, it's not just, but submitting a portfolio to a company like WotC or Sony or Marvel or something like that, and then having a like job.
Yeah. But see, so I hear that statement, but I think that it's a little short-sighted because yes, there will always be ethical companies and ethical groups that band together and say, no, fuck AI, we're hiring humans to do art for now. But as more and more artists become laid off because of AI automation, less and less people are going to be trained artists because it's already like, let's be honest, it's already not a very lucrative field to get into. And you constantly, like, anytime anybody studies art formally, they get shit on for it. And so it's already a struggling industry. The more and more it automates, the less likely people are to actually dedicate time to learn it. And so the pool of human capable artists over time, and I'm not talking like the next 5 years, I'm talking decades to a century.
No. I completely understand. I feel like this would be akin to how, like yarn spinners or people who make like sheep wool and yarn
Sure.
by hand, or making like stuffed animals and crocheting and stuff by hand.
Sure.
The painting artist, sketch artist community would turn into something that is small and let's just call it like an endangered community, like
Right, yes.
crocheters and yarn stuff.
Like the Amish. I mean, there are still people that build their barns with hammer and nails and don't use any power tools and don't use these people do still exist. But
yeah.
the industry of people who get their tables from a tree that was cut down, from planks that were hand carved, from nails that were forged in a fire with hammer and nails,
is like none.
It's virtually non-existent. It's such a small number that it's safe to say it's non-existent. So yeah, you're right. Digital artists may reach a point where the they exist at Renaissance fairs, and you pay them $20 and they hand you a USB drive and you take it home and you plug it in, but at what I'm saying is, at that point the industry is dead. At
That's
that
fair.
at that point, we live in Blade Runner and everything is AI generated computer slop, and it's just, I know this sounds very like doomsday theory, like, like people are gonna say I'm overreacting, but like I don't know. I just don't think I am. I think it'll take a while, but this is the slippery slope that leads to a future like that where this entire industry is dead. So,
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah.
All right. I'm reading what else Jason said to us because I did ask him 3 questions and he gave us very good answers because he's a very good explainer.
Jason
He
seems like
also
good people.
he has done a few in detail processes, scripts, not scripts, but detail of the process of him making the pieces. He did it for Admiral. He also did it for C-Core, I believe, and like shows the different poses and the thumbnails that it went through and the process that it takes to create this art. I asked him that he accepted the apology statement from WotC, which quite a few artists actually did. Since we're talking about that real quick, JoJo's art on Twitter, these are all on Twitter. JoJo's art, RJ Palmer, Leisha Hannigan, Paul Scott Caravan, Christopher Bretz, Reed Southen, I believe is his name, Corey Brickley illustration. These are all artists that make a living. Most of them have done work for Magic the Gathering. They all said thank you for the apology. They said that was good on WotC for admitting that they made a mistake, and they hope that they do better in the future. So I asked Jason what he thought about the apology, since he accepted it,
Right.
and then how realistic would it be to check on AI stuff in the future. I suggested doing a Photoshop history log because some people, including WotC, blamed Photoshop for the mishap of AI. Those who do not use Photoshop may not know, but now there is a feature in it that's called generative fill. If you crop an image, normally you could only crop down, and if you cropped bigger, it would just be blank white around the edges of where your image ended. Now you can do generative fill. If you leave it blank, Photoshop will just fill it in with whatever you think, or you can give it a prompt and then it does it. The slightly plus side to using Photoshop's AI is Photoshop is only sourcing, so they claim, only sourcing from artists that submit their work to the Photoshop or Adobe cloud. Now, the catch is this is an opt-out option. So artists may not know that their work is being used to train Adobe's AI.
Oh, that's shitty.
But legally, Adobe does have the licensing for those pieces to train their AI. So,
Yeah.
it is technically legal and not theft. However, it is shitty and shady.
So I have a lot of feelings about these artists accepting the apology. Mainly, I think they're being too nice. I think that WotC needs to be held to a flame right now because, them blaming, and they did it in their apology. They said, unfortunately, AI integration is making its way into industry standard tools such as Photoshop. Here's the problem I have. Twitter, in less than 5 minutes of reviewing that image, could tell it was AI generated. Less than 5 minutes. Okay?
They also reviewed an image about a month ago. Twitter claimed to be AI, and it was on a D&D product, I believe, and it was not. And they did have to have the artist came out and it was like, hey, it's really hurtful that you guys thought that my thing was AI, and they were wrong.
Oh, are you talking about the one where like the monster had like weird out of place legs?
No. It was like a little dwarf guy with a
Oh,
hammer.
okay, that's different. Okay, yeah, yeah, and the design. I do remember that the designs on the hammer looked a little
The designs
sus.
on the hammer were a little wonky. His like some of his belt loops kind of went to nowhere. It did have some signs of AI, but it
Yeah,
didn't have the artifact generation that AI gives you. So like I can see where Twitter would think that, and I also thought it with the points that were pointed out, but I do feel like Twitter can be a little witch honey.
that is true, and I did have some people point that out that like, you know, this AI conversation is getting a little vitriolic to the point where people who are just not the best artists are getting torn apart for it. But am I making this up? But wasn't there a story also involving the D&D book where there was a monster that was legitimately proven to have used AI?
That was back a while ago.
Yeah,
The
wasn't that long
the
ago.
little
I
well
think it was like,
August.
yeah, August. That's less than 6
That's like
months.
6 months. It is 6 months. August is
Yes, yeah, but that's my point, is that just like I said at the top of the episode, that this is topical now, it'll be topical again in 5 months when they do it again. And so
yeah, that's
so
fair.
this is the point that I'm getting at, right? Is why I think WotC needs to be held to a flame, is that this didn't happen once. This didn't happen twice. This has happened 3 times. 3 times where very obvious AI slipped through the cracks. And every single time we get the same response, just worded slightly different. It wasn't our fault. The artist wasn't supposed to do that. We'll take steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. And here we are again for the 3rd time. It happened. They hired a contractor who lied to WotC, and nobody at the company caught it, and they released it. And so how many times does this have to happen where we accept their apologies? How many times before we go, no, WotC, do better and I'll forgive you? When the next ad comes out, if it's not AI, I'll forgive you. But for now, you get no forgiveness. You haven't shown improvement, right? It's the same. I mean, it's with anything in life. If my dog shits on the carpet and then shits on the carpet again and then shits on the carpet again, I'm not going to pet him on the head and be like, it's okay, buddy, you'll figure this out. I trust you not to shit on the carpet a 4th time. No, my dog's a
No.
carpet shitter. Till he can learn to stop shitting on the carpet, he's gonna fucking be treated accordingly, and we're gonna take steps. And I just feel like with WotC, I feel like that's not what's happening. Like, all these people, and it's not even just artists. I saw like people kind of coming at me that I wasn't being forgiving enough, like other users. And I'm like, guys, how many times does this company have to slap us across the face before we go, hey, stop slapping me in the face, please?
So Mr. Rainville says he did accept the apology because it was more important to him that they took a closer look, said they were wrong, and took it down. That was his most important thing out of this specific incident.
But that's what happened with the Tomb Raider ad.
A large amount of art is being produced by people that are not working in-house. So it's not a matter of when these AI images are going to get past quality control, or it is a matter of when the AI images are going to get past quality control. He wants more preventative measures, which I believe that we all do. It is a good sign when the company can at least listen to the community when evidence is overwhelming. I don't think that they listened fast enough, in my personal opinion. As for what those measures are, Jason did not say that they didn't listen fast enough. Izzetrix thinks that they didn't listen fast enough.
Right.
Clarification. Back to Jason. As for what those measures are, the process has already hard enough on artists and the art directors themselves. Various progress checks that require detailed process from each freelancer that the art directors have to pore over is a non-starter, which is when I suggested doing the Photoshop history log.
Okay.
It is not something that he'd be happy with. The best I can think is an additional quality control positions, keeping an eye out for these things and the people adding people that are familiar with signs of AI generation. Beyond that, he doesn't really know right now, which is completely fair, and it is a very emotional time for the WotC artist. So like that's absolutely reasonable response.
Yeah.
I do think that art directors are probably overwhelmed with all of the sets and stuff that they have to go through and all of that. I do feel like whoever is running the social media, if it's an intern, if it's an actual team, if they got fired,
They need to
I
be
don't
fired.
know.
They need to be fired. I hate to
This
sound...
person
Yeah.
is not doing great at their job, so please work on that in some point.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, I hate to sound like a dick. I really do. I understand this is a rough economy and we all need to eat. Whoever sent that fucking tweet where they said, "No, you're wrong,"
oh, the know you're wrong tweet
that
guy, yeah,
that person needs to be fired
that person
immediately.
is done.
There was actually a funny joke going around that tweet was actually made by AI.
This was not AI.
Yeah.
This was done by a human.
No, fellow humans, I promise this was human art made by humans. Like,
The thing is that AI is not going away.
no, unfortunately.
We are stuck with it. We need companies who say that they are with human artists, which WotC claims that they are claims allegedly. They need to have a person that can recognize it, and they need to have a person, a team of people or whatever that goes second checks it after the art director. The art director's job is to make the sets coherent, is to make sure that the cards are readable, to make sure that everything is going to be cohesive for that set release or whatever project that they're working on. The amount of stuff that they go through, they are probably overwhelmed. The AI that is going through is probably the same reason that the tracing incidents got let through.
Yeah.
Right? It's so much
What
stuff.
was it
Now,
Strixhaven that they copied and pasted Nicol Bolas and Ugin fighting?
so it was the Nicobolus and Ugin fighting that was copy and pasted. That was stolen from another WotC artist.
And it was
stolen.
Literally copied. It wasn't even traced. They proved it was literally cut out, copy, and pasted onto a new card.
And then they also stole from a Patreon artist on the same card.
Oh, Jesus.
And then recently in Ixalan, the last Ixalan, Wayfarer's Bauble, the background was traced over and then kind of like repainted a little bit, but not enough that like the lines didn't line up. It was just like the shading was a little bit different. And the apology from that artist was, yeah, I take images off of Google and photo bash them and then color over them. And that's how I do my art. And everybody's like, yeah.
Not great.
No.
Not great.
Not great. But I feel like the issue is that your art director is having so much stuff that they have to go through that they are human and not AI. And so they know when the AI, they're not going to be able to keep up with the amount of stuff that they have to go through. And Wizards needs a team to double check. They don't have to like critique the art. They don't have to like make sure that it looks good for the set. They just have to sit there and look at pretty pictures and make sure that it's not made by AI.
Yeah, the quality control team, if they even exist at this point, needs more help. They need a higher budget, which, let's be honest, it's not going to happen. In the wake of 1,100 layoffs, 800 before that, and rumored to be more coming soon, they're not going to invest money into this game. And that's ultimately, I think, the biggest problem with all of this, is that it all stems back to the fact that WotC is being gutted by Hasbro. And we can call WotC evil all day, every day, and in many respects, they are. But this is all indicative of a much bigger problem, and that's Big Daddy Hasbro. And it's the fact that, I mean, again, this could be a whole nother episode, but we're seeing the effects of the constant gutting of WotC. And I know, like you said earlier, that the layoffs happened so recently that it may not have been the result of this, but keep in mind there were 800 layoffs prior to that. Yeah. So we're up to almost 2,000 layoffs, and the game is spiraling out of control, and it's not going to get better by removing people from the company. I mean, it's the same thing with, you know, the Universes Beyond, and how the person in charge of Universes Beyond, who produced the highest grossing set of all time, was laid off. Do you think Universes Beyond products are going to be that great from here on out? Like, they're going to start to see a dip in quality and creativity and things like that. And that's what's happening here. Like, you know, like we said earlier, we're not 100% clear. I think we're leaning more towards what you said, that art directors have not been laid off. Um, but I think we're fools to believe that the layoffs did not affect the art department in some way. With
Oh yeah.
with the sheer number of people that got let go, the art department was affected in some way, and so was quality control, and so was just every aspect of the company. And if they're not willing to invest the money back into the game, it's going to, like, I hate to say this because, like, Magic's one of those games that it's been around forever, and it's unlikely that it will ever completely die, but it will. I do believe it could eventually fall out of the limelight, and it stop.
I
Yeah,
it's not looking great.
yeah.
Like, it sucks because I keep thinking, I'm like, oh man, we literally just started this podcast and WotC is self-destructing themselves, so we better make sure that we like other things besides Magic the Gathering, just in case.
Thank God we're fucking mega nerds.
Yeah, like
I,
we've got a couple, but we can only do so many. uh no, it's not looking great. And even if like the cuts keep doing it, or if people are voting with their wallets and not buying product, then WotC's not going to be making money, and then Hasbro might let WotC go. And then if that happens, then like we're not going to get Magic the Gathering anymore, and there's truly not an actual replacement for Magic. Like, you have Flesh and Blood, we have Lorcana that's doing whatever, but it's not Magic.
those games are dead in the water. Like, I know that's a controversial statement, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but no, like there's nothing like Magic. The only true somewhat competitors would be Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, and Yu-Gi-Oh's fallen out of graces, and Pokemon is, I mean, a monolith of money printing, so they'll never have a problem. But, you know, yeah, Magic is not on a great trajectory. Um, and this AI stuff is just, to me, it's indicative of a bigger problem. Like, yes, AI is a very passionate topic, and I think when we talk about these blunders that they've had in the past year, we talk about it like it's just an AI thing, and it's not. It's an overall WotC thing. The fact that they're letting scumbag AI slip through is proof that things are not looking good. Like, yeah.
That's about all I got. I do have a positive note from Mr. Rainville for when we are done and ready to close up.
I think we're about there. So if you want to end us on a happy note.
Yeah. So I did ask him, I was like, do you have any advice or words of comfort for the other artists out there that are vocal against AI generated art? It almost feels like we are fighting a losing battle. Because that's how I feel. Like, I can't. It doesn't fucking stop. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And he said, today is the best sign that public pressure seems to help move the needle with companies like WotC, and that the vast majority of people want art that is created by humans. Even in the most bleak future, there will always be a market for the well-won skills of an artist. Your development is rewarding on its own. So even if you're not making money for it, then like you can still do artwork. That said, I'd also warn folks against turning their anti-AI stance into a witch hunt. Plenty of legit artists have been harassed over claims of use of AI. Artists have a hard time of finding steady work, and especially in the tabletop industry. And I wouldn't want to see any of them attacked for sticking it out, so that they could live, pay rent, they have bills. I also need to take a step back and evaluate how I use my platform to make sure that, yes, we push back against the companies while not overstepping and catching other, he used a big fancy word that I don't know,
Give it a shot.
Beleaguered?
Oh,
Huh?
I don't know what you're trying to say. I'd have to see it spelled out.
League Red artists.
Maybe that
The
was...
other aspiring artists
I'm
in a
Googling this.
cast-wide net.
Keep going.
B-E-
I'm
League Red. League.
beleaguered.
Beleaguered.
In a very difficult situation. Surrounded
okay.
by armed forces aiming to capture it or force surrender. Besieged.
Starving artists.
In a difficult situation.
To catch other starving artists in a wide cast net. Okay, now I feel like it's a little dum-dum. He's like, I wish I had something more concrete, like more like recent legal victories, which we are hoping to get as an artist community. Like there's one working on it. It's not looking good for Stable Diffusion. So, or is it Midjourney? I don't know. Whatever. It's not looking good for the AI. So fuck them. Or stats showing that artist rates are holding strong. But really the best thing I can say is that people are always going to want something made just for them by someone else and to marvel at what people and humans can do.
It's beautiful sentiment.
He's optimistic.
Beautiful sentiment by a very awesome person, great member of the Magic community, legendary artist. Yeah. I won't poo-poo on his words.
No, don't poo-poo on Jason Rainvale.
We'll wrap up on that optimistic look out into the sunset, ride off into the distance, and hope for a better future.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and enjoying our emergency 1.5 episode that we were not planning on making. Guess what? There might be more of these in the future, not specifically about AI, but if something happens and Doggo and I feel passionately about it, maybe it will.
Breaking news.
I didn't even put makeup on. I'm in my pajama pants. So no, this was not planned. We felt passionately about this. We may feel passionately about other things in the future, and we'll see you later.
Bye bye.